Hello. Welcome to an adventure. Hopefully you can see and hear me. I assume that's happening. I'm Anthony Wright Day Hernandez, Community Collections Archivist here at Virginia Tech, aka Rogan27 here in the Twitcherverse. And this is Archival Adventures, a show where we pull things out of the archives and see what we can learn from them. Shadows, thank you so much for the bit. This week, we are continuing our series with the Civil War Diary of a Confederate teenager. I'm not sure if she's still 14 or if she's 15 now, because it's 1862, but I haven't investigated, so I don't know exactly when her birthday was. But I do want to do a little bit of like genealogical research on her, mostly to help me read the journal because the handwriting is getting harder. I do have the finding aid, which is linked in the chat message there. So if you want to review and refresh, or if you're new and don't know information about what it is that we're looking at, the journal. And yeah, so I did partly to prep for today, for this stream, I created a list of all of the people's names that have been mentioned in the journal so far. So that if I come across one that I'm having trouble reading, I can consult this list and see if it looks like it's any of them. And so far, I've got the Murdoch family, of course, the Breckenridge family, Miss Brown, the Buckners, Bet Coleman, Mr. Collin, not sure on that one, the Coplans, the Daniels, Kate Ellett, Mr. Hall, Aunt Love and Mr. Love, Ida Maddox, John Parker, Mr. Riddle, Mrs. Snodgrass, Miss Van Bibber, the Watsons, there's a mention of the Watts, and then the Williams, and then a bunch of other names that I don't have last names for, or I don't have, say, much information on, which includes like Alice and Becky and Ben and Blanche and Bun and Charles, and yeah, you get the picture. Anyway, if I run across names, I now have a list I can consult that might help. Anyway, we are going to pick up the journal. I did a little bit of like skimming ahead just because last time we looked at it, it was so hard for me to read the handwriting. So I did a tiny bit, but I really haven't gone much past the first date that we're picking up with, which is this page here. And I shall zoom in. Because we are going to start with page 57, August 22nd. Thursday in Port Gibson. Aunt Anne determined to give a tea party this morning, so we all looked forward to it very anxiously all day. At last, we were all dressed and waiting on the gallery for our guests, who were to be Kate Ellett, Minnie Harding, and Bet Coleman, with Lieutenants Taylor and Williams, officers from Miles Legion. We waited and waited on the gallery, but no company. At last they arrived, And after a long introduction in the dark, took our seats. After talking a little, tea was announced, and we walked in. The only two gentlemen walking behind. And from many gestures, they signified they felt rather awkwardly. Aunt Ellen turned to them and said, "We invited some young gentlemen to meet you, but they were unable to come." Meaning Mr. Tibby? That one I don't know. It looks like T-I-B-Y possibly, but that's not a name we've seen before. But yeah, Mr. Tibby Butter and Bun. These sound like nicknames to me. Butter and Bun. No idea. We've come across Bun before. This is the first time with Butter. The former counterfeited indisposition. The latter had been on an embassy into the country. After tea, we all went into the parlor. Minnie, Ma, and I Minnie, Ma, and I sat over in the corner by the door alone until Aunt Ellen ordered us to move over into the circle. We did so, and I entered into a conversation with Lieutenant Taylor. I thought him quite pleasant. The conversation lasted all night. That is not what those words look like, but that is what it says. He said he weighed 130, and then we spoke of old persons who were thin when young. After became so very large. So they're gossiping about people who were thin when they were young and large when they got older. I said the largest person I had ever seen weighed 275 pounds. Oh, he said. He saw a little child only 7 years old whose weight was 480 pounds. That would be a very large child. And I know a man who weighed 490. Kate Ellett said she weighed 128, I think. And Bet and Minnie 190. I weigh 120. Apparently everyone at the party was just talking about how much they weighed. I suppose In the 1860s, you had to have something to chat about at tea. Soon I proposed we should have some music. But each one declined at length. Lieutenant Williams himself Any guesses? Went around writing inviting. Got it. Lieutenant Williams himself went around inviting each one, and each declining. Until he came to Lieutenant Taylor, who cordially accepted and took his arm and walked over to the piano. And after waiting to have the stave fixed, took his stool, and after waiting to have the stool fixed, took his seat to play. Notes were given him, but he declined, saying he did not play with his notes. All the ladies having said they did not play without. So they tried to give him music, but he said he didn't play with music. And all the ladies were said that they didn't play without music. At last, he played the Bonnie Blue Jay, I think. I haven't had cause to see very many capital J's in her handwriting. I think it's the Bonnie Blue Jay. Aunt Ellen said, "Oh, that is beautiful." "Oh," she said. "Oh," said he, "if you like it so much, I'll play it again." So away he played. At length, Aunt Ellen said, by way of diversion, "Oh, I came to see this beautiful bouquet." That would make sense, but I'm not. It doesn't look like the word see, but hey, none of them do look like the words that they are. Congratulations, Shadows of Life. You've been randomly selected as a VIP for the stream. Enjoy your digital gemstone and the ability to control pun points. Yep, came to see this beautiful bouquet. But we something. It looks like Widerd, but that doesn't make sense. The person who tried to transcribe it before put Niderd. It's not an N, it's definitely a W. Let's see what comes after it. I'm not sure what the word is. Could be like, but we minded, but that doesn't quite make sense, but we ordered, that doesn't make sense because it's definitely an I. It's followed by he must finish playing first. I came to see this beautiful bouquet. Yeah, I'm going to leave that one as I'm not sure. If anybody has any ideas, I will happily take them, but I'm not certain what that word is. Then Minnie played Leclerc beautifully, and Shula? Let's see, Gander False? I'm trying a search to see if I can find who this composer is, because Grander Falls? SCHUO long S, I think. Ooh, I may have found it. I may have found the name. See if I can find out the actual name of the song. No. Well, maybe I didn't find the right person. Because this one, all of their works are after 1900. I think it might be Schulhoff. SCHUL. But that would be HOFF, and that's not it. Schul. Usually the interwebs are able to find things for me. Ooh, this could be it. The uncle of the one I was just looking at. Hang on. I found it! I figured it out! It always makes me feel so good when I manage to figure something out like that. What is this? Hang on, I'll drop a link. First I want to make sure that I don't want sound. Don't. Guys, I don't want to get in trouble. The composer is Schulhoff. It's Julius Schulhoff, and the song is a Grande Valse. The Grand Waltz by Julius Schulhoff. And if you want to hear it, there's a YouTube link. It took me a minute, but I figured it out. Let's see. Miriam played Leclerc beautifully, and Schulhoff's Grande Valse, and another piece. Who did we say was at this party? Because now I'm presented with abbreviated names. Kate, Minnie, Bet. And we have here something. And Bet sung Juanita, and Blanche. They had more people there than just who was named, because we've got Blanche and it could be Ma, Pat, and Bet sung Juanita, and Blanche played on piano. But I'm not certain on those names. That would take probably a bit more study. I did not have my music here, so I could not play. Then we played Proverbs, and Lieutenant Taylor went out. The proverb was, "It is all well to be It is all well to be hung for an old sheep as a lamb? It is as well to be... this is not a proverb I know. Oh, yeah. Apparently the modern version is you might as well be hanged for a sheep as for a lamb. So, it is as well to be hung for an old sheep as a lamb. Referring, I believe, to, like, being hanged for stealing an old sheep versus a lamb. They're the same. Let's see. And he guessed every word of it. Then he laughed heartily and then we laughed heartily and accused him of hearing it, but he declared he did not. But I think he did. Then he played... No, then we played... something. And the party ended. I have no clue what that word is. Could be W-I... But I have no idea. And they went from songs to games, and so if it's a game from the time, I'm not likely to get it. Yep, no idea on that one. And the very fallible transcript that I have says very, so that's not it. Okay, so September. We've reached September of 1862. September 4th, Thursday, 1862. Harry came down from Fort Gibson this morning. Ma sent him up yesterday with a bottle of rum for Stephen Archer, who was very low with typhoid fever, and no brandy could be procured for him anywhere. And Mr. Moore said that rum was better than brandy, so Ma sent it up. But it reached there too late. The day before, he slept all the night, and that morning until 10 o'clock, and while he was sleeping, the doctor said he was out of Hello, Stephen. I'm doing slightly better than last week with her handwriting, but I figured that one out. But it is still a challenge. Oops, I didn't mean to zoom all the way back out, but It's fine. Okay. Now that I have a sense of what this says, thanks. This one is apple pie. It's going okay. She attended a party and had a lovely conversation with the lieutenant. And then people played music, and then they played a game called Proverbs, and then they played something else, but there is no way I will ever decipher what that strange scrawl was. This is the name of what they played before the party ended. No idea. So now it's September 4th. Harry came down from Fort Gibson this morning. Ma sent him up yesterday with a bottle of rum for Stephen Archer, who was very low with typhoid fever, and no brandy could be procured for him anywhere. And Dr. Moore, said that rum was better than brandy. I love a good game of flip, whip, loof. Yeah, I know. I was like, wife? Squiggle? Who knows? So Ma sent it up, and it reached there too late. The day before, he slept all the night and that morning until 10 o'clock, and while he was sleeping, the doctor said he was out of danger. Dr. Thomas. But poor fellow. It was his long, long sleep. He never awoke. Well, it sounds like Dr. Thomas didn't know what he was talking about. I mean, I guess technically once you're dead, you are out of danger. Aunt Anne wrote us that... Yeah, true, right? Aunt Anne wrote us that the ironclad gunboat on its way up to Vicksburg had attempted to land soldiers at Natchez, but had been it almost looks like visited, but that doesn't make any sense. And it's not, because this tail here is part of it. And that they shelled the city. I think it's prevented. The ironclad gunboat on its way up to Vicksburg had attempted to land soldiers at Natchez, but had been prevented, and that they shelled the city. You know where Natchez is? The only reason I could tell that that word was Natchez is because we previously looked at the map of the area, and I know that it's near the Natchez Trace. If I didn't have that tiny bit of geographical knowledge stored away, there's no way I would have gotten that as Natchez, at least not without deciphering it for a while. They shelled the city, doing no harm, however. she thinks they may make foragings out in the country and advises Ma to send Essie, Dora, and Sally up to town for safety. But I do not think there is any need of fear. They would hardly risk it, as only this boat is coming up for what? As only this boat is coming up. For what purpose, we are ignorant. Ah! It's not prevented, it's resisted. And I only know that because risk is here. She has not written lowercase r's at the beginning of words like that previously. So not getting it here makes sense where the letter isn't complete and there's a little bit of a muddle in the middle. But with this here, risk, and going back and looking at this and knowing that it starts with an R, it's resisted. Because she sometimes dots her E's. Which of course makes it so easy to read. We haven't had any O's from her since we started today. We had a lot last time. But our total remains at 101. There were O's, but she was quoting other people. So they didn't count. Okay. Yeah, I think she might be a little naive about soldiers out foraging in the country. I do not think there is any need of fear. They would hardly risk it, as only this boat is coming up. For what purpose, we are ignorant. Yeah. Young girls in the country, as the men are foraging, probably best to send them into town. The rest of the fleet are very much disabled by the pummeling they received at Vicksburg and are now being repaired, I suppose, at New Orleans. September of 1862. Oh, yep, the Confederates had retaken it by then. Because the Union only held it until May 1st. The Essex is in a bad fix now. She is between Port Hudson and Vicksburg. And they do not intend to let her pass within places anymore. Either. The Essex is in a bad fix now. She is between Port Hudson and Vicksburg, and they do not intend to let her pass either places anymore. I have no idea how I figured out that that said Hudson so quickly. Because I don't know all the names of the forts very well. Initially, I thought it was Huron, but I didn't think there was a Port Huron down in that area. Okay. She is... only hesitate because that is not how she's been writing the word the. This is how she's been writing the word the. It looks like a capital A. She is the finest boat makes sense, but this does not look like her writing the word the. But nothing else seems to make sense. She's quoting here, so she is the maybe, I don't know. She is the finest boat. Commodore Foote had the command of her. Commodore Foote was in quotation marks, so I don't know. Until he received his scalding. Cousin John is lieutenant in the engineering corps. In Colonel Hughes's partisan rangers. He is now at Port Hudson. Their colonel is very low now in Port Gibson and not expected to recover. So very low is a euphemism for sick. Let's see. How slender is the thread of life. Oh! Then, how earnestly should we all strive to prepare for it? Oh, the O is an emote now too. So you should be able to put it in chat. And now I lost my place, because that happens when I distract myself. Let's see. Then how earnestly should we all strive to prepare for it? I often wonder how I shall feel at death. It seems so awful. But then when I think that as the world recedes from view, heaven opens to our sight. As poor cousin Chet, when he died, cousin John said to him, Chet, do you see heaven? Yes, said he. Heaven opens gloriously before me. His and cousin Essie's death were the most wonderful I have ever heard of. Lord, that I may also die the death of the virtuous. That does not look like the word virtuous, but I'm certain that that is what the word is. Just because I know she skips letters, at this point, I know enough about her handwriting to know that this jumble of lines is the word virtuous. At least that's what I'm going to say it is. It could be righteous. But I rather think it's virtuous. I'm not sure. Ooh, we have a semicolon. My Savior and my God, oh, be with me in that dread hour. Oh, we've got another. Oh, fold your tender arms of compassion and love. Oh, have me. Oh, leave me not. Whew. Or to him for thee, my God is chief. Wait, to him for something. My God is my chief desire. I am uncertain of this word. They said thee as well, and that's where I was. To him for thee, my God is my chief desire. May I announce all things, but may I announce all things, but oh, 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 that makes more sense. Oh, hello. Hello, welcome in, Raiders. Hi, Whimsies. It is good to see you, Eric. Thank you so much for the raid. If anybody here is not already following Eric, you absolutely should. I don't know how you're here and not following Eric. Um, so we often benefit from having Eric raid us here. And I like that very much. Welcome in. I am Anthony Wright de Hernandez, aka Rogan27, and I am the Community Collections Archivist here at Virginia Tech. And this is Archival Adventures, when we look at items from the archival collections and see what we can learn. Today is part 7 of us reading the teenage diary of a girl who lived in the Confederacy during the American Civil War. So this is her diary during the war years. So yeah. Ooh, Lord Briarwood, I appreciate the self-care. I'm doing better this week. The last couple weeks, all of the talking on stream was getting to my throat. Yeah, we'll dive back in, and you can watch me struggle with 19th century handwriting. 18th century is an off-stream project for now. But in a couple of minutes, we will be invaded by the inevitable Twitch mandated advertisements. So until then, let's see. She's currently writing a section about her uncle, cousin? I've already forgotten. Cousin. her cousin who's dying. And so we've gotten religious at this point. Let's see. May I renounce all things but thee, and live alone for the being who has done so much for me. I fear that I fear that at times. Lord, release me from this fear. Wait, I fear death at times. Lord, release me from this fear. Shelling of Natchez, Tuesday, September 2nd, 1862. Okay, let's see. Friday, September 5th. COV. I don't remember any specific locations that she's previously mentioned that were COV or CON. So I don't know. Unless that it's also possible that says 6 a.m. But usually she doesn't normally put times. Usually it's a location. So I don't know. Johnny and Mr. Moore returned from Natchez last night. They went to actually it could be Mrs. Moore. I mean, conservatory could make sense, but it's usually like the name of a city or a town or a plantation. CM. It's CM. It's Cane Mount. It's the plantation. It's their family plantation. That's what it is. You made me think of, okay, what categories does she do for places? And CM is Cane Mount. She just hasn't abbreviated it like that before. Johnny and Mrs. Moore returned from Natchez last night. They went on a shopping... They went on a shopping... expedition, but arrived at a bad time. The day before they reached there, the Federals attempted to land. A company of militia had assembled on the bluff to prevent them from doing so, supposing they would begin to plunder as they had done before. Immediately on seeing them attempt to land, a man named Blank stepped out boldly and said, "Boys, the enemy are upon us. Who will go down with me under the hill and attack them?" 27 men and 40 boys quickly stepped out, and they rushed down the hill, fired, and ran back. The Federals, it seems, were only landing to procure ice for their sick, of whom they a great many. Okay, we are about to be forced to have some advertisements. I am going to take us to break for a couple of minutes to let them run so that we don't end up with pre-rolls for anybody who's joining. And I'll see you in just a couple of minutes. Hello, welcome back. Uh, I didn't realize the ad break had ended. I was busy trying to make out handwriting ahead of where we were. I I love the a man named blank. Uh, that was just wonderful. Oh, and Lord Briarwood, thank you so much for the follow. Okay, let's see. So, a man named blank stepped up boldly and said, "Boys, the enemy are upon us. Who will go down with me under the hill and attack them?" 27 men and 40 boys quickly stepped out, and they rushed down the hill, fired, and ran back. The Federals, it seems, were only landing to procure ice for their sick, of whom they a great many. There hardly being enough men well to man the boat. The Federals rushed to their boat and immediately began a heavy, terrible shelling without one word of warning. Like, they were there to get ice, and the people on the shore ran down the hill and shot at them and then retreated. And so they started shelling from the boat without warning. I think after you fired at them, warning is not necessary. um, then immediately the whole city was a source of turmoil and confusion. Mr. Elliot Marshall and family got into their carriage and drove rapidly out of town. He said poor helpless women and children flew after the carriage, crying, "Oh, Mr. Marshall, what shall I do?" What all shall I do? "What can I do?" he said. He said it was heart-wrenching to witness. The gutterman said a shell struck his house, and it sounded like a tremendous clap of thunder. um, I don't include it when she's quoting someone else. So that was the quotation, so I'm not doing an O. I should make it a command, though. It's already an emote. Tremendous clap of thunder. One lady had her dress torn off. Another lady and her husband went down into their cellar for safety. But finding it so excruciatingly warm and the something so numerous, she persisted in coming up. What is that? Okay, so it's the cellar. And it's something numerous that made people not want to be in the cellar. But what is it? This looks like QUITORS. But what is this then? And what Oh. I think this is 2 words. I think this is mouse, but then what is this? Is it some euphemism for mouse droppings? I don't know, and I'm not sure what to search for to try and figure it out. But that would make sense if it's mouse something. So, but finding it so excruciatingly warm and the mouse something so numerous, she persisted in coming up, although much against her husband's will, who begged her to remain, feeling it to be the only safe place. But they came up and had just seated themselves on a bench when a shell struck one hard and shattered it. I'm uncertain. The person who tried to transcribe it before had that as Lord, which doesn't make sense in the sentence. So, uncertain. But the most terrible of all was that one poor innocent little girl must answer for that silly act of the militia. A cruel shell struck his and her young life. Wait. A cruel shell struck him and her young life was sacrificed to atone for the foolish, reckless, outrageous conduct. 450 men. I'm uncertain that I understand it. End? End. Yes, it's end. They had just seated themselves on a bench when a shell struck one end and shattered it. But the most terrible of all was that one poor innocent little girl must answer for that silly act of the militia. A cruel shell struck him. I don't know who him is. And her young life struck... Is it him? I don't know. It could be an L at the beginning. Well, his or him is what I'm reading it as too, but it still doesn't make sense. Because she's describing how one poor little girl had to I'm not going to use AI for it. That defeats the whole purpose. And AI is really bad at trying to read 1800s handwriting. Well, I'm going to move past that word. I'm not certain what it is. I could do letter comparisons, but I think we'll get the gist without it. It could be live? Anyway, and her young life was sacrificed to atone for the foolish, reckless, outrageous conduct 450 men. This is why I say it was outrageous um, for the Federals to shell the city. Why would they not have landed and, like true men, fought those who had been guilty of the act? And not with a cowardly, dastardly anger sent their vengeance on a town. Sent their vengeance on a town full helpless women and children, when they knew those very men could not be touched by it. Yes, this makes me feel. This makes me feel with the pact who says, though he crouch in the darkest cave of the soul, south, sorry. Though he crouch in the darkest cave of the south, I'll tear him from his den, and my eyes shall feast on the blood of his heart. Were he backed by 10,000 men. I'm not sure who she's quoting here. I am not a bot. Thank you for the follow. What is... I'm going to look up this quote because I don't know if I'll find it. 1862. I don't know how... It sounds like something that should be known. Tear him from his den. Well, nothing immediately comes up. So, I don't know. But this is the most vicious thing she's written in relation to the war itself. Like, she's had some pretty catty things to say in the gossipy sections of her diary, but apparently the militia shooting at the ship, she wasn't upset that they retaliated. She was upset that they retaliated by shelling the city or shelling the town instead of trying to fight the people who actually shot at them. So that's why she was upset about no warning, because they just started shooting cannons into the town where there were just normal citizens and not soldiers. Yes, this makes me feel... I'm not sure that that says pact, but um, that's as close as I've got right now. Who says, though he crouch in the darkest cave of the south, I'll tear him from his den, and my eyes shall feast on the blood of his heart, were he backed by 10,000 men. I even feel this to be the language of my heart when I think of this, when I think of their relentless cruelties in this war. Oh, God, to thee I cry. Oh, for vengeance on such a foe. Dr. Philin, thank you for the follow. Um, should he give... Oh, should we give him any quarter? Is he not beyond... I'm sorry, it looks like butter, and I know it's not butter. DES. I think it's brother. DES CR. I. Or DESER. Okay, what would make sense in this sentence? Because I'm also... Context clues help, but I'm not sure what even makes sense here. Brother, is he not beyond... For vengeance on such a foe, should he give him any quarter? Brother, is he not beyond... I think it's despicable. I know that's not what it looks like, but I think it's despicable. Okay. So, DIS, this would be the P, which clearly her pen has been running out of ink anyway. I. This is a K. And then we've got the B and a little bit of an L and an E. Either that... Yeah, no, it's it could be either that or desirable, but I don't believe it says desirable because that doesn't fit the context. Should we give him any quarter? Brother, is he not beyond? Yeah, I don't know. I've got my best guesses, but that one's hard. Why can't people's handwriting always be the same? I mean, mine isn't, so I can't blame anybody. Let's see. Tuesday, Cane Mount, September 14th. I love how occasionally this is a total puzzle game. I do too, actually. I really enjoy digging into it. Like, and if I wasn't live streaming, I would probably end up going down a rabbit hole looking for similar shapes in other places in the journal to figure out what letters it is. But that just takes way too much time. Let's see. As I was reading this morning, a chapter on the life of John somebody B something something YAU. The previous person to try and transcribe it has Bucayan. Bucyayan. I suppose that's possible, but yeah, I'd have to do some searching to see who was famous enough, whose spelling gets close enough to that. Anyway, a chapter on the life of John. Some of the struggles through which he had to pass. It struck me forcibly as exactly what I had felt at times myself. I will insert it here. Oh, wait, it's Bunyan. Who the heck is John Bunyan? I know a Paul Bunyan, but John Bunyan? Speaking of Bunyan, it... Paul's brother? I don't know. Speaking of Bunyan, something still he does not personally sit in the sunshine. It could be says, but I'm not sure. One temptation besets him, and then another. Am I elected? At times, so offends and discourages him that though he is in a flame to find the way to heaven and glory, and though nothing can beat him off, he is as if the very strength of his body also were taken away by the force and power thereof. You had as good leave off, whispers Satan to him one day, and strive no further, for if indeed you should not be elected and chosen of God, then is no hope, or there is no hope of your being saved. For it is not of him that... So it is not of him that without one of him that summit? That doesn't make sense. For it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that nor of him that so willeth and somethingeth. But I don't know. I again, she's quoting things, and there are things I don't know. Hi, Sterling. But of God that showeth mercy. Nor of him that... The best I've got is summeth. Sterling, thank you so much for the 22-month free subscription. Woo! Let's see. But one night, as he is now quite giving up the ghost of all his hopes of ever attaining life, and oh, the bitterness of that thought, how much something it has caused me. How much sorrow it has caused me. Sometimes this handwriting gets really difficult. The thought occurs to him, begin at the beginning of Genesis and read to the end of the Revelation and see if you can find that there were any that trusted in the Lord and were confounded. That thought dost still, oftentimes, he says, shine before my face. Another temptation tries him. How if the day of grace should so if the day of grace should arrive, should be passed again? I think it's now. How, if the day of grace should now be passed again? How, if you have overstayed the time of mercy? He goes up and down, bemoaning his sad fate, counting himself far worse than 1,000 fools for standing off this long and spending so many years in sin. I'm gonna throw it in there. Oh, he cries, even though it's a quote. That I had turned sooner. Oh, that I had turned 7 years ago. Oh, how often I have felt just so. I have walked about with others, talking with them, and busy in something day pursuits. Every. She started putting these tails at the beginning of letters, and she didn't used to do that, and it keeps throwing me. Let's see. I have walked about with others, talking with them, and busy in everyday pursuits like others, but my thoughts were far from there. Oh, the long dreary hours and days when I longed for God. I longed to find my Savior, but all was dark and black around. Persons would say to me, Fannie, you are in a you are in a they didn't get it either. You are in a brown study? No, that's not what it is. This word. Something E-O. Hmm. I don't know. It sounds like a colloquial phrase that we probably don't use anymore, and so I'm not sure. And I've not seen exactly this letter form before, so I'm not certain. It could be a B that's just slightly different from this one. The second letter looks like some of her E's, but it could also be an R. That is most likely an O. That's either an E, an I, or an R. Unless it's something else. And this could be a W, an N, an M, a U. Yeah. Um, you are in a blank study. I believe you are absent-minded. Yeah, it's going to be some sort of colloquial expression for basically daydreaming, but I don't know what it is. Yes, I seem so to them, but every thought, every feeling, every feeling turned and said, what shall I do to be saved? I don't know if that really is turned, but it's the best I got right now. and I longed for someone to tell me all about it. Then again, I thought, well, I have had through looks. I have read through looks, but through books. Yeah, we got back to many O's. I have read through books, but they do not teach me. They tell me it not by it's not by works we get into heaven, but they never tell me how we do get in. They said faith, but what is faith? And in agony I said, I will give it up. I was too timid to ask others about it. No human knew it but myself. Oh, why did I suffer all that alone? I thought others would not understand me. They would not. They could not sympathize with me. So, as I said before, I concluded to give it up. I said, I shall give up. Or I will give up. I will die. And when God asks me why I was not a Christian, I will say, I would have been a Christian, oh God, but I did not know how. This was when I was only about 12 years old, so roughly 3 years before this. I did not give it up. But about a year after, my kind father came to me again. No one helped one but him. He showed me what faith was. He taught me how to be a Christian and please him. The process was slow. It was as father teaching an erring child. He did not seem like the awful God. It was a tender father. Though sinful and erring yet, still I hope I am a disciple of my Savior. Heaven is my goal. All my hopes are concentrated there. When I think of this home, I wonder that I ever think of anything else. Many darling friends have gone before, friends that I could almost have died for. 2 sweet little brothers and a father. I almost worship. I long to be with and all again. But my Savior, oh gracious throughout, I shall see him. Make me do thy will at all costs on earth. O heavenly parent, now take me home. Well, that one turned really religious, which has happened. It's interesting because when we started the journal, she kept lamenting how she wanted to be a good Christian, but felt like she wasn't living up to what that meant. And here we are, probably about a year into this journal, which is almost 2 years into the American Civil War. And it sounds like she's actually come to terms with her faith, and is less distressed. Like, it sounds like she's less worried about failing to live up to what it is to be a good Christian, and is more comfortable in her faith. At least that's what I took from it. I am very curious about who is this John Bunyan person? I have no idea. An English Christian writer and preacher. John Bunyan, born 1628, died 1688, was an English writer and nonconformist preacher, best remembered as the author of the Christian allegory The Pilgrim's Progress. I know that title! Which also became an influential literary model. In addition to The Pilgrim's Progress, Bunyan wrote nearly 60 titles, many of them expanded sermons. Okay, so that is who she was quoting, and who reading his work seemed to, like, help her come to terms with her own religion. I did not know that that was the author's name for Pilgrim's Progress. See? We learn things. Which is the whole point. I am not going to start the next day because there's no way that I will finish it before it's time to end. So I'm not going to start September 13th. We will come back next time for September 13th and hear about, apparently it looks like Dora's birthday. And what that party is like. I have no idea how old Dora is. I do plan, depending on how much time I manage to find, I want to do some genealogical research and just see if I can figure out a bit more about her family. Mostly because we keep coming across names. And while I have made a list for myself of the names she's mentioned, it would probably be helpful for me to actually understand who some of them are in relation to her. I mean, there are other families in the area. There are other things. And like when she mentioned Tullis, which was a name I had never seen before, Tullis, I ended up going to the library version of Ancestry. Like, we have institutional access. So I went in there and was just searching in that general geographic region in that time period to see if that was a name. And it was. It's just not one I had ever seen before. So sort of piecing together the puzzle of who is she? Which ones are her parents? Who are her siblings? Because she mentions Dora. Dora's her sister. She had 2 brothers that died. We don't know her father's name. We don't know her mother's name because she just calls them Pa and Ma. She's mentioned somebody named Cabell, Breckenridge, Cabol, which I'm uncertain whether that's spelled correctly, and so doing some research and figuring that out. And she's clearly had a crush on somebody. I've forgotten which. There are so many. But if I can figure out who that was, I might see if I can figure out who that was. I don't know how well the records are for searching in the 1860s, but honestly, as Stephen observed earlier, it's like puzzles. It's like a puzzle game where I can... It's just when I hit a point where I manage to figure something out, it gives the same sort of satisfaction as working on a puzzle, spending time thinking about it, and eventually coming up with the solution. Sometimes the handwriting in a journal like this gives that same sense of, this is a puzzle. And I'll stare at it, and I'll play with it, and sometimes I'll recreate the letter forms, like, with a pen. And like, just the movements will give me a sense of what letters they actually are. Sometimes going back and referring to other letters in other words and figuring it out. And like, this time, first time that she's ever had that big swoop at the beginning of a lowercase r, or the big swoop leading into the lowercase e that's written like a capital E. Like a print capital E, but it's part of her cursive. She just has a very particular writing style. She tends to drop the last letter of words. Her writing of the word the originally had 3 letters. Now it just looks like a capital A, a print capital A. But it's the word the. And unfortunately, it also looks like it. They're basically identical. So she has her style, and she's a teen. This journal started when she was 14. She's probably 15 at this point. She's exploring. She's learning. Her handwriting's developing. Like, it just makes it challenging. A lot more challenging than when we read the Engineer's Journal from the USS Dakota. I don't know specifically how much is left. Probably, I'm guessing 2 more streams, like 4 more hours to get through it. So it's time for me to start looking for another journal. I'm uncertain what. I think I saw personal journals from somebody who worked on the Apollo program. I'll have to look and see if I'm remembering correctly, but that might be interesting to look at. Or I could still look for more Civil War journals, but I think I saw somebody from NASA involved in the Apollo program who had personal journals. So I might look for those. Okay. I have no idea. I have done everything it says to do. The credits just will not run on their own. Anyway, we'll be ending there. We're up to 116 for our total. I have been your host, Rogan27, aka Anthony Wright de Hernandez. Thank you to my mods who were here today, Hannah and Sterling. Sterling, thank you for the resubscription. Shadows, thank you for the bit. 16-bit Eric, thank you so much for the raid. And Lord Briarhood and Dr. Villain for the follows. The music has been from Lo-Fi Girl. Next week, we are going back to the John Clark papers, but instead of the care and feeding of rockets, we'll be looking into his connections to the science fiction world. He has a couple of science fiction stories of his own, including the first science fiction story to deal with the topic of antimatter. And he also had communication with lots of other well-known sci-fi authors, and so we'll be digging through those documents next week. Let me see about a raid. Yes. We are going to raid Stephen Joyce because I can, and because Stephen comes and hangs out and learns with us, and because Stephen has a wonderful community. When you get over there, I encourage you to request a tiny hat. Any tiny hat. You don't even have to do anything special. Just ask for a tiny hat, and Stephen will put one on. And they're worth it. But yeah, I encourage you to join on the raid and say hello to Stephen Joyce. Thank you all very much for joining me today. Hopefully I'll see you again soon for another episode of Archival Adventures. Until then, keep exploring history.